Good afternoon, most of you. We are going to talk about money. Good topic. This session really is a review of the finance videos you watched, and it's a review of the policies and procedures manual, the finance section of that. And we're going to discuss two primary topics. That's going to be income and expense. Income, of course, is your donations. Expense is how you spend those donations. And basically, we're going to talk about how you receive money for your global account and how you get it out of your global account. Each of you has been assigned an account number or a fund number, which you received from Ellie Noakes, I hope, right? Nod your head. Good. All right, there are, I can think of 6 streams of income: checks, cash, stock donations, IRAs, internal transfers, and online gifts.
Hold on one second, Marla. Also, I just wanted you guys to know that we did post these notes in the Facebook group. So if you want to download them, you don't have to, these slides are in your Facebook group as notes, similar to the way that I did mine, just FYI. Sorry, Marla, go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. Let's talk about checks first. Your donors should mail checks to Post Office Box 1, Tupelo, Mississippi. When the checks come in the mail, Vernita Sykes opens them, sorts them, scans them, and uploads them to Google Drive, I believe, for Shasta to enter those checks into your global account. So who did you learn that your donors should make checks payable to?
You can raise your hand. Or just talk. Draghi?
Draghi, go for it.
The question was to whom should be to Global Outreach International?
That's right. What should be written on the memo line of those checks?
Our 4-digit code.
And what should not be written?
Our name, Global Outreach, or whatever.
Good job. Thank you.
Yes, no name.
When you speak at churches, they'll often want to give you what we call in the South a love gift. You need to encourage those churches to make a check payable to Global Outreach, not to you personally. For U.S. citizens, it could mean you'd be paying taxes twice, because if you receive $600 from a church and they give you a check payable to you, they're supposed to issue you a 1099 at the end of the year. And that might mean you'd be double taxed, because if you put it in your global account and draw it out of salary, you're going to be taxed. And then this church, the 1099 means you have to pay taxes on it possibly. So encourage churches to make checks payable to Global Outreach. The next form of income is cash. What if a donor hands you cash for your ministry? What are you supposed to do with it?
Buy ice cream? No.
Nah.
Anybody?
I think Draghi. Keep raises. No one remembers?
Should we volunteer somebody?
Yeah, let's call on somebody. Let's see. Blake.
Blake, what do we do? What do you do if you get cash?
You deposit it and send you a check with the person's name.
Well done. Thank you. You can also create an account online at the global website and have your bank account drafted. You could handle it that way. But in the additional information line, you need to give us the name of that donor and his address.
See, Alex has his hand raised.
I just have a question. If we have some supporter from Macedonia and Bulgaria and they give the cash, what we are doing in that situation?
Go ahead, Charlene.
I'm here to answer questions Marla doesn't want to. So they give you cash in, what's the currency in Macedonia called?
Excuse me, can you repeat?
What's the currency? What's your currency called?
Denari.
Denari.
Yes.
They give you denari. You can do it one of two ways. Honestly, I wouldn't send it to us.
Right.
I would use it there. Most of what we're going to be talking about here that's mostly helpful is money that's originating in the United States. It is possible for us to take checks that are written on another currency, checks. It costs a little bit of money and it's work. So really the biggest benefit to global outreach for your US donors is that we are a nonprofit in the United States, so they get a benefit, as well as then it's coming in through this account and the ways in which we are going to send it to you, which is how you get the money out. As you all know, if you are a foreign citizen, we are not taking any taxes, and we're going to talk about that, but you will have to figure out the taxes on the other side. So, either way, you have taxes, and I don't exactly know what that looks like there, Alex. We don't take any percentage, so we don't care in that respect. We're just trying to help you on the cash side and the donor side if it's coming from the United States. Does that help? Okay. Good questions.
Yes. One more point about cash. Sometimes donors will hand you cash here in the States, and they'll say, well, I'm really not interested in donor credit. You just put that money in your bank and spend it any way you want. We recommend that you do not do that. You need to put the money in the bank and, as Blake said, send us a check, because in January, when that donor is filing taxes, he may want a tax write-off for that money that you've pocketed. And we cannot give him a tax write-off unless the money comes through our bookkeeping system. And also for your own accountability, you need to run it through Global. Any questions thus far? All right, the third stream of income would be stock donations. If a donor would like to donate stock to your account, they need to contact me, and I will give them the Wells Fargo account number and what's called a DTS number. And once Wells Fargo receives that stock, we authorize them to sell it, and then the cash is entered into your account, your global account. Another popular way since 2018 is IRAs. We saw a really big increase in donors who gave through their retirement account, their IRA, in 2018. If a donor is 70 or older, he can receive, he can give up to $100,000 annually from his IRA without owing any income tax on the distribution. And that's why it's very popular.
So we need to try to get donors who are 70 or older to give big dollars, because it helps them too.
That's right.
So how'd you know? You didn't even know this was going to be a fundraising tips and tools as well as finance. All right, so that's IRAs. And then another way that you can get money
is internal transfers. So if Draghi wanted to give money to Alex, how would he do that from his global account?
Draghi?
I'm sending that through the website, like transferring money to one another missionary.
You could do that. But an easier way to do it would be just to send me an email and say, Marla, I want you to transfer internally $500 to Alex's account. And he would be very agreeable.
Yes.
And my account number is 4085. So if anybody wants to do that as well, it totally receive it, just so you know.
And I'm going to put a pitch in here for the home office. If we have blessed you and you've been blessed by the Lord with a lot of gifts, you may email Marla and say, Marla, please transfer $1,000 from my account to the home office. That's what we call an internal transfer, and I'll enter it. We set up a journal entry, and you would see that transfer in the account tab on Donor Hub, not the donations tab. All right, the next stream of income is the most popular. It's online gifts through the Global website. And Evelyn Wages downloads these gifts daily. What are the two ways that they can give on the website?
Monthly or one-time donation?
Said monthly or a
Monthly?
one-time donation.
Right. What I was really referring to is credit card or bank draft. I think it's called EFT online. Let's see.
And what would be the difference between a credit card and a bank draft, Marla?
The fee, and we're going to talk about the fee. You want your donors to give by bank draft because that only costs 15 cents, The credit card fee is 2.5% of the donation. And
So especially if it's a big amount of money.
right. And we're going to talk about those fees. I'm going to have a math question for you. Evelyn Wages, what are some of the common questions from missionaries and from donors related to online giving?
I guess one of the most common one is you are sent an automated email every time you get a first-time donation or when a recurring gift is set up. And right now, that does not tell you when you get that email when that is scheduled to start, what day of the month it's going to be given on. If you need to know that, you can contact me and I can go into their account and relay that information back to you. But that's one of the most common questions from our missionaries is that, because you just don't get all that detail. One of the other things is you don't instantly see a gift. If somebody has told you that they've given it online, there's a 2 business day delay from the time a gift is given online until it posts to the GO account and then posts to your account. So just keep that in mind. If somebody's told you they've given it, it may be a couple of days before you see it.
Evelyn, what if a donor calls and he's about 80 years old? He says, I'm not going to fool with setting up an account online. Not going to do it, but I want to give to Elena. What would you tell that donor?
Well, we always try to encourage them to learn, but like you said, if we see they're not going to, then I do that for them. I do everything. I set their account up. I scheduled the gift. So we're going to take care of them. That does not need to be a burden on you as a missionary to try to do that for them. That's what we're here for. So if you have a donor that says that to you, and just send them to us and then we'll take care of it.
Ellen does a great job talking with donors. She's very patient with them. I want to make one more comment about Donor Hub. Sometimes you might see donations on the donor tab, but they haven't been added to your account balance. The reason for this is when Evelyn posts donations, she has to run a query. And that query uploads the donor names and the amounts to the Donor Hub. Well, I have to do the same thing on the finance side of the software. And she might upload her donations at 11. I might not post them to your account until 2 in the afternoon or later. So give us some time. Please be patient when you see money on the donor side that's not on the account side. We'll get it there. Just be patient with us. Okay, do you have any questions about Donor Hub or any other income questions? Okay, I do want one more comment.
I think
Go ahead.
no, I was just saying that you guys will provide to us the account number, username and password for the Donor Hub, right?
Yes, that will come from Blake Wages. And I want to make one more comment about income. We do track income 2 ways. The donor has an account. Of course, you have an account. And all donors will receive a statement of their giving, a list of their donations that they've given to you in July, and then again in January will be a list or a total for the entire year, which will be their tax receipt that they'll submit to the IRS. And anytime you have questions about donations or donors, email Evelyn Wages. All right, we've covered income. Let's talk about expenses.
All right. Hold on.
All right.
All right. We're going to keep trying to do this.
All right, on Donor Hub, you'll see an account tab, and that's where you're going to see all your deductions, all expenses, anything that you've spent money on, your salary, your ministry expense reimbursements, etc. You'll see a list on Donor Hub under the account tab. And under the description in the account tab, you're going to see vendor names. And I want to talk about several vendor names. The first 2 are related to your donations. You'll see Renaissance Bank credit card gift fee, and you'll see Renaissance Bank draft gift fee. Global uses Renaissance Bank. We deposit all your money, your donations in Renaissance Bank. But Bank of America processes the credit card gifts, but the fees come through our local bank, Renaissance Bank. So that's why you'll see Renaissance Bank credit card gift fee on Donor Hub under your account. Bank of America charges an average, and it's just an average, it varies, Evelyn would tell you, of 2.5% for credit card gifts. Now, donors do have the option online of adding 3% to that gift to help you cover the fee. Sometimes they do, sometimes they don't. So if a donor gives you $500, how much would the fee average? How much would the fee be?
Now you're getting into math.
Yeah.
Now you're meddling.
Math question.
Oh my goodness. I'm getting on my calculator. Do y'all know? Anybody? We can't see you if you are trying.
No one has volunteered yet.
No one has volunteered us. I volunteered.
Oh, well, Elena.
$62.50.
On 500?
On a $500 gift, just multiply it times 2.5%.
A little bit less, quite a bit less. It's about $12.50.
That's right, $12.50.
About $12.50.
And Evelyn has to average the fee, but it does average 2.5% per gift. And you need to understand that the bank keeps us 1 month behind. The gifts you receive in June, you won't see the fees for those credit card gifts until July. That won't be deducted from your account in July under the vendor name Renaissance Bank Credit Card Gift Fee. Donors, if they give by bank draft, Bank of America only charges 15 cents per bank draft. And once again, you will see those fees the following month. It is accumulation of fees. And if you want to check our math, you can total all your credit card gifts in June and look in July and see what that total credit card gift fee is. And the same thing for bank drafts. It'll appear on Donor Hub under, I think it's called ACH/EFT gift.
So you're telling me that if that same donor that was given $500 gave it from a bank draft versus a credit card, my fee would be
$12.50 versus 15 cents.
15 cents versus $12.50.
Yeah. And Evelyn, I haven't asked this before. How do the majority of donors give? What percentage would you say compared to bank drafts and credit card? If Evelyn's talking, she's muted.
Evelyn, if you're talking, you're muted.
Evelyn, do most donors give by credit card, or is it 50-50, would you say?
I'm sorry, my thing went off. It's probably 50-50, really. Because I see as much one way as I do the other. A lot of them use telecheck, which is the EFT, because of the 15 cents. But we have an awful lot that use the credit card too.
They use credit card gifts because they get airline miles.
Yeah.
But it does cost you more. All right, let's talk about the next two vendor names. And these are related to deposits into your bank account. You'll see Renaissance Bank ACH service charge, or you might see Renaissance Bank wire fee. When if you have a USA bank account and we put money in that account, Renaissance Bank is going to charge you 12 cents per deposit. If we send an international wire to your foreign bank, this is a real bargain here. Renaissance Bank only charges $3 per international wire. Some banks charge as much as $45 for a wire.
So if they get a wire, it's only going to cost $3, or this is just one of the fees?
This is a fee, but it won't come out till next month. Renaissance does not deduct from the wire. However, when we send an international wire, it has to go through an intermediary bank in New York. If Wells Fargo is the intermediary and we send you between $1,000 and $2,500, they're going to deduct $18 from that wire. If I send you $2,000, you can upfront subtract $18. Now, your international bank may also deduct a fee. We don't know about those. It varies.
And we know, I think this question had come up before, just for those folks that are in Bulgaria for sure. I don't think we've ever sent any money to Macedonia yet,
No.
but we have wired to Bulgaria. So we know that that is possible and the intermediary bank does work. I think that was a question that had come through Marshall, as well as obviously we've sent money to Spain and Uganda. For those of you, if you want to take money to a bank there in Uganda.
And I'll just go ahead and point out, if we wire money to a foreign bank, that bank receives the money the day we wire it. They may not give you credit. They hold it as long as they choose. Uganda gives credit the same day. China's been known to hold the money as long as a week. If we deposit money in your USA bank account, there's 1 day delay, 1 business day delay. If I deposit it on Wednesday, you won't see it in your bank account until Thursday.
Which is so hard when you deposit on a Friday. I'm telling you, I'm always like, Lord, help me. My money ain't coming till Monday. All right.
Next two vendors, mail managers or the U.S. Postal Service, IMG Insurance, Focus Point International. Of course, mail managers is the vendor that we use to mail your newsletters. So on Donor Hub, if you send a newsletter to your supporters, you can scroll down on your account tab and see how much we had to pay mail managers for the postage. But they just put one lump sum for everything: postage, letterhead, envelope.
Printing, all that, right?
Under mail managers, you'll see the total for that mail out. Now, the U.S. Postal Service, and I think Renita mails these for us, but the first time a donor sends money to your account, Global will send a letter to that donor acknowledging that we've received the money and that we've credited your Global account. The home office pays for the letterhead and the envelope, but we do charge your account for the postage for that confirmation to the donor.
What is U.S. postage right now? You know?
I don't.
Allie, does anybody know that in finance? I think it's like
50 cents.
50.
Yep.
Yes, ma'am.
Renita, you mail those. You do mail those for us, right?
Not the letters.
You don't? So Allie pulls a report of first-time donors,
Uh-huh.
and I thought you sent them the letters. I guess she does.
She does. I just make sure it gets put in the journal entry.
That's right. You take care of the postage charges. You keep a running total of postage fees. And Vernita enters those through a journal entry into she deducts it from your account through a journal entry. Vendor names, ING Health Insurance. That's something that Catherine and Lake will see on their donor hub. Focus Point International, will that just be?
That will be anybody that is not serving in their country. So if you are living and serving in your own country, you can't have Focus Point. If you are serving in a country that you're not a citizen of, Focus Point, and you'll learn more about that later, but that will show up as a charge.
Okay, let me do some review questions. What's the average fee Bank of America charges for credit card gifts?
2.5%.
Boom.
Thank you.
She just graduated college. It's all right there.
What does Renaissance charge for a international wire?
$3.
$3. Grimmy got it. She got in there.
What about an EFT or a bank draft from your donor? What does Bank of America charge for a bank draft gift?
Draghi?
0.15%.
Correct.
Cents. So like less than $1.
Blake,
a lot less than $1.
I have a question for Blake. Blake, if I put your salary in your USA bank account, what's Renaissance going to charge you? Blake or Catherine?
Blake's internet's going in and out. She may be offline because that.
Catherine, do you remember that one?
Can you repeat the question?
Yes, if I put your salary in your USA bank account, what's Renaissance Bank going to charge you for that deposit?
12 cents.
You got it. What's the vendor name for mail outs to your donors?
I learned this one today.
Mail managers.
Thank you. All right, good job. All right, let's move on to expenses. Missionaries have two types of expenses: foreign grant or salary expense, or ministry expense. Let's talk first about salary expense, or the foreign grant. If you're not a U.S. citizen, that's what we call it. I'm just mainly going to ask questions. How often? Oh, no, there's the answer right there online.
Oh, I gave him the answer. Did I do bad?
You did.
I already gave him the answer.
What's the date we deposit your salary?
28th of the month. I didn't read it.
This is my favorite day, guys. I'm sorry I gave the
That's
answer.
all right. How often do we deposit a salary for you?
So how would they know this? From the videos?
It should be, yes. Do we deposit a salary for you every week?
Once a month.
Correct.
Every
That's
month.
right. Okay, I think I've covered all these. I'm not on that yet.
Oh.
All right, so what, how do I know how much money to put in your bank for salary?
We do the ministry, our actual salary budget, and then
Right.
should be approved by the committee.
That's correct. I look for that net salary on the budget, and that's what you'll see in your bank.
And net is what goes in the bank.
Right, but
But there's a gross that we're going to talk about for people here in the States, especially gross, because there was taxes that we're required to pay. So then the net is what goes in, right?
that's right. That's what I send. But as I said, our fees are deducted by the intermediary bank.
Yeah,
Sorry.
there's fees.
All right, let's move on to, first let me ask you, what forms do I need in order to deposit your first salary? There's 2, 3 for US citizens. I need the budget. I need to see what that net salary is. I need the deposit form. If I don't have a deposit form completed in return, I don't know your banking information. And for US citizens, I need a W-4 form.
Where do they get a deposit form?
It should be in their forms on that.
In the Dropbox?
Mhm.
In the Dropbox.
Yes. All right, let's move on to ministry expenses. Or do you have any questions about salary or foreign grant? It'll probably be answered in the budget session.
I will say the reason why we call, and this is important for our international missionaries, we call it a foreign grant because it's a grant of money. It's not a salary to you, right? So that when you receive it, you are receiving money from a nonprofit in the United States. However, that is translated to your CPAs when you're talking on your side with taxes, that's an important clarification that we're not employing you because you are not employable in the United States, and we are not an entity that can employ in Bulgaria, Spain, or Macedonia, or wherever. Okay, cool?
Cool.
I have
All right.
a question about that.
I have a question.
Let's answer them.
Crimena, go ahead.
Okay, so we receive a grant every month but can we have some kind of a contract or a document stating that we'll be regularly receiving a grant from you? Maybe like a document about the partnership, so that in Bulgaria, people don't get suspicious of like the government. Why are you receiving regularly a grant?
Yes, we can. We would do that through Marshall. We would do that, and it would be basically a letter of intention. And so that's easy for us to do on letterhead. And usually most banks, foreign banks, and taxes will say, "Oh, okay." I know that there is some conversation, and we can have this an offline conversation with you guys trying to set up an entity in Bulgaria. And so we can talk about the details of any way that we can, help you with that. But because I know taxes are a thing, it's a big thing. Fernando.
Yeah, my question is the budget, we do it once a year. We can, change maybe 1 or 2 times a year. But to receive the every month grant, do we need to send every month our bank account, or once we send it, that's it?
Once you send it, it's set up. And so as long as it's going into that account every month, that amount will go in, providing obviously that the money is in your account. So
Your global
your
account.
global
And
account.
we
In
can
your global
change,
account.
and we
Get it.
can change the account. For example, if I have my bank account in Bank of America, but also I have my account here in Spain, and I have my American credit card that sometimes I make things through that. So maybe in September I want my money, instead of coming to Spain, going to my Bank of America. I just need to communicate that to you. That's possible.
Yes, and missionaries often ask me to split their salary. They send a portion to the USA bank account and the remainder to the foreign bank account. That's the way most of them handle it.
And
Great.
right now,
Thank you.
that is a fairly manual process, and soon and very soon, it's going to be a process that you're going to be in control of because we're upgrading our payroll system. So like September-ish, August, September. So yay.
I wasn't even going to go open that can of worms.
Oh, it's happening.
Yep, it is.
We're going to do it. All right.
All right, let's move on to ministry expense reimbursement.
I
Go
just
ahead.
have one question.
Questions are
What if we have, like, for example, salary like $1,000 monthly, and some month we don't have that donations? So what we are doing, like the salary is stop, or you're sending just those money who are in the account?
We send
understand?
on the 28th, we only send your budgeted monthly salary. So you need to have that much in your account. And what you need to do is monitor Donor Hub, keep an eye on that balance. And if you see it's going to be short and not enough on the 28th, you need to email me maybe a Friday prior to the 28th, and we'll deposit what we can or wire what we can. But we do not change those salaries on the 28th. They have to remain the same as your budgeted salary.
And so that would be called an extra or an emergency salary when you're looking in the policy manual.
That's right.
That's what that would be considered. So it's kind of your responsibility to manage your account, which is why we give you Donor Hub, to know how are we doing here? Is this going to happen? And then communicate that.
That's right. You might need to reduce that monthly salary. You might need to email your donors. You might need to come to the States and start doing some fundraising. But we cannot change that salary to match what's in your account on the 28th of each month.
The question is the other side of the coin, as if I have a salary or grant of $2,000 and I receive $3,000, so it goes to my next month, and then let's say that at the end of the year, my balance is more or is less. How do you guys manage that, since we have a close amount for our grant every month?
You just carry it over and use it for.
Just moves to the next year.
Yep.
So I was going to make a joke and say, we all get bonuses, but we don't. The money stays in your account, and then what you start with. When your budget is saying, this is what I'm anticipating to raise, this is what I'm planning on, right? And so you've submitted that budget, but it's not necessarily that you have to say, okay, I've got this much in my account, or you don't zero it out. It just carries on to the next year until a time in which, let's say you want to separate from global, and then we would work that out with you to get it out.
Yeah, I asked this question because, for example, I have some donors that they give once a year. For example, they give, I have 3 or 4 that gives in, January, February, maybe 1 or 2 that gives in December for the whole year. So what I'm saying is that if it's extra, it's not a problem, because you're going to be sending me every month the same amount, and we'll be deducting from that big amount. But the opposite could happen, that I have a donor that is making a big donation in June, which will cover a lot, but before that, my balance may be, a little hard. It's not that I need to fundraise more, it's just because at first entrance in global outreach, I didn't reach that year cycle that I can have money going to, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah. I would recommend that if you have money wherever you are now, that you put that into the account. So you can transfer money into, to fund, to pre-fund, to get that started if that's the case. So if you have money that was pledged or just came into where you are now, we can work that out. I don't know if that helps.
Yep. And often missionaries, as long as it's in your budget, missionaries often sometimes ask for an additional salary, especially around Christmas when donors give extra money. And at that time on a Friday, they can receive an additional salary or additional grant wire.
When we get to the budget section, we're going to talk about, you heard us say, and I'll just go ahead and say it now because we're running out of time, but you heard us say that there's a fully funded. So you launch when you're fully funded, which is really different when you're already on the field. So the point of being fully funded is this idea of having a 3-month reserve. So when someone is launching, what we're trying to get people to do is build up your reserve of what you know your salary, taxes, and medical expenses are. 2 of those come out of your ministry account, which we'll talk about. But when you know that that is your monthly spend, regular spend, that is 3 months of that is that like nest egg. So I would recommend that you're building that. It's great to build that out of one-time gifts and that aspect, and then your regular monthly donors to help you with that. I understand. I was a missionary and I had people that would donate several $1,000s at the beginning of the year. And in my mind, it's like $100 a month because I was taking it that way. So it's a way in which you calculate that best. Okay. All right. Let's talk about ministry expenses. Is that where we are now?
That's right.
Okay. Let's go to that.
3 of us work together on your ministry expense deposit, Shasta, Vernita, and I. You noticed in your notes that when you need reimbursement, you email 2 people, Marla and Shasta. Shasta checks the finance@globaloutreach.org email. She keeps up with the receipts. And if you, and we'll talk about advances in a minute, if you get behind on receipts, she will let you know what you owe. But you received a deposit schedule, and which is a very important form, and I hope you are paid close attention to it. What does request due date mean if we're going to deposit an expense reimbursement?
We can't see hands again, so if you can unmute yourself or someone can let us know.
That means if you want $1,000 put in your bank on Friday morning, you need to email Shasta at Finance and Marla and request that on Wednesday, June the 3rd is the form I'm looking at.
And when you say request, what you're talking about is I'm submitting my expense report and my receipts.
Correct.
By this date.
Yep.
In order to see the money on this date.
That's right.
So let's look at June 5th, which, well, let's go down. We just had June 12th is coming up this week. So I would send in my receipts and my expense report to finance@globaloutreach.org
and copy me. You need to
and copy you, M. Nunley by Wednesday, June 10th, and then I would get money into my account on Friday, June 12th.
That's right.
From my expense.
And you need to set, if you use Dropbox, be sure to set it so that it is shared with Finance and with Nunley addresses so that we both are notified when you upload a report and receipts. And don't send it on a Friday morning and expect us to put money in your account the same day because it takes a lot of work to set up those deposits. Shasta she creates a list of the deposits. She saves the receipts. Then she sends that list to Vernita, who has to enter an invoice in our financial software. So it's a lot of work to get money in your bank account. So,
which is why we have the deadline of Wednesday.
That's right.
So if I send it on Thursday, I don't get no money.
You don't.
Okay. I had to learn this. I actually have a ministry account, and I did it wrong one time.
But sometimes there are emergency situations. Now, come on, Charlotte.
Oh, well, you're too nice. All right, so.
But don't send it on Friday morning.
Draghi, you got a question?
Yes. I think that we, with Marshall, also communicate this, that, for example, in Macedonia or Bulgaria, if we want to, for example, I don't know, to reimburse some ministry expenses, we need to pay taxes for them. So we will put like the taxes into the amount which is plus taxes, and then to submit, or without taxes.
So what we need, Marla and I talked about this. I'm thankful that you had a conversation with Marshall, because I got the questions ahead of time. What's going to happen is, I think the best way for you to do that is to write a receipt for those taxes, like a cash receipt, include that in your deal. So let's say it's $1,000 of reimbursements, and you have calculated that you're going to need about $100 of tax. So you write a tax receipt, $100, add it. So what comes from your account is $1,100, 1,000 plus the 100, and goes to you. And now you have that money. What's important to us is that receipts match expenses for us in case we are audited by our internal revenue system on our side. That's the best way for them to handle that
That's
tax, right?
Yes.
Is that how
Yep.
So hopefully that will help take care of that. And we know there's exchange rate changes and all of those things that you have to manage. And I'm sorry, wish we had one like universal currency, it'd be easier.
Yep. All right, so how often do we deposit ministry expense reimbursements?
Up to 3 weeks, three times a month, I guess.
Right, every Friday. Unless, let's go back to that schedule.
Oh, okay.
Because
let
that
me
was
go
a good
back.
good
That was
example.
a good example.
Mhm.
All right, let me pull that one up for you here.
Okay, you notice June, we have Thursday highlighted in yellow. Now that means we're going to make those expense reimbursements on Thursday, June the 25th, not Friday. And the reason is because we're depositing salaries on Friday, June the 26th.
So you could actually get it 4 times in the month of June there, it looks like.
Yep.
Your reimbursement,
Mhm.
right?
That's right. Sure can. So you have to, and which also means you have to send those receipts earlier to us. If you want a Thursday deposit, you've got to send receipts and report by no later than Tuesday.
I really like Thursday deposits because then the money's there on Friday
Right.
when I need it.
I know it.
At least here in the States. I'm sorry for those of you that have to wait a couple of days. All right, where are we at, Marla?
All right. Do you have any questions about, you had receipt procedures and how to submit them, how to prepare the reports and receipts. Do you have any question about how that's done? You understand that we need you to convert each receipt to US dollars. You need to write that US dollar amount on each receipt. You number the receipts, list them on the report, and have the total. And then you submit a total to us so we'll know what to put in your bank account. But it's important that we have that US dollar amount on the receipts, and put the conversion rate on the date that you spend the money. I don't know how often those conversion rates change, but
Every day.
do they? Okay.
A little bit. They change a little bit every day. So there's a lot of good apps, and I think a lot of people are kind of used to working that.
You have any questions on, now you can send receipts by Dropbox. I think, Shasta, some people use Google Drive. What are some other methods? Expensify, yeah.
Yeah, Expensify, mostly Dropbox. Dropbox, Google Drive. That's my main two that I get most everything from.
Yesterday, she had a missionary who sent 75 receipts, not in one folder, but she would have had to click 75 times to download each receipt. Believe me, we did not accept those receipts. This missionary had to start over. We want one folder with all the receipts, and I don't know why some people send two. They put the report separate from the receipts. You can put the report and the receipts all in the same folder, and just send us a link to that one folder. What about a ministry expense advance? Let me tell you what that means. Maybe, and I hope I'm pronouncing this right, Draghi. Suppose Draghi has a big conference coming up for teenagers, and he doesn't have $2,000 in his bank account, but he's got it in his global account. So what he needs to do is email me and request a ministry expense advance. We'll go ahead and wire you the money prior to your spending it, but you need to save all those receipts as you spend the money. and you submit it to us through Dropbox or Google Drive, just like you would a ministry expense report. But you need to be sure and let us know these receipts cover in advance so that we won't put the money in your bank again, because we get lots of reports and lots of receipts, and you have to let us know, hey, this covers that advance I asked for a month ago. Now, don't get carried away asking for advances, because you cannot we don't let you get behind on those advances. You can have 2 advances on the books without receipts, but when you ask for number 3 and we don't have receipts for the prior 2, we're going to tell you no, that you're going to have to submit us some receipts for at least one of the other 2. Any questions on advances?
Which is good, because I would have lost the receipts by the 3rd advance anyway.
Yes.
I have a question. If, for example, we ask for $2,000 advance, but however we've spent something like $1,800 on this project, and we have $200 which are still here in Bulgaria, and they're not used. So what happens with them? If this is plus, like we'll use it for next ministry expenses, so we have something like plus balance, or what happens?
I think I understood. We prefer that you don't send receipts for that advance until you have spent all the money. Just keep spending on ministry expenses and accumulating receipts. And then generally you're not going to have exactly $2,000 even. You're going to spend maybe $2,150. And what we'll do is we will wire you the $150. We call it the receipt overage.
So Elena, I want to make sure, if you had a project of 2,000 and it ended only being 1,800, we're not managing whether or not that project equals. What we're managing is the receipts that are ministry receivable. So it could be any other type of ministry receipt. It couldn't be like food or your rent or something that is only a salary expense. But it could be any other thing, like you said, an administrative expense that would be, and then you just send that receipt in. We're not looking at, oh, she said it was for a youth event. This isn't acceptable. But we then want those receipts. Does that make sense? Fernando?
In the budget, I think when I watched the video, said that a percentage of our phone bills will be considered ministry, and so we need to submit every month that bill, putting the 30% that is ministry expenses, and you guys will reimburse us. How does that work?
This is where there's going to be a big difference between foreign grant and U.S. citizens, because the truth is, the benefit to a U.S. citizen of being able to take part of their internet and phone bill as a ministry expense is that we're not paying taxes on it. Taxes are the same for you guys. So essentially the money is coming through. You are not required to send us receipts on your cell phone and your internet. You could take that as a part of your salary expense if you wanted to, the whole thing. Does that make sense? But for Catherine, it is an advantage to her that 70%, I think, 70% of that total amount could be a ministry expense, because that means she's not paying the U.S. government on 70% of it. Yeah.
How about the mileage? For example, that do I put in because this is the thing, I have my car, which I use for personal things, but also I use to ministry. So when I submit the budget for you guys, I can put transportation costs for my grant, and I can go to my ministry budget and put transportation costs for my ministry. So, and I will be using my car. Do I send you the gas receipt? Do I send you the mileage and the amount? How do I do that?
So the only place that we do mileage, like mileage reimbursement, and look at mileage, is when you're in the United States and doing a ministry trip in the United States. Every other ministry expense of automobile is a direct cost, right? Like a fuel cost or a taxi cost or a direct cost, not a mileage cost. Right. Because the mileage percent is set by the IRS every year, the reimbursement here in the United States.
Yep, that's right.
Good questions. So we've gotten into budgets, which is perfect. And that's basically where we're landing. The reason why I'm involved in budgets is from an operations standpoint. We are helping gather, communicate this idea of these annual budgets. So there's 2 budgets that we're talking about now. So we're in June. As you are getting started for this year, you're making your initial budget, and it still looks like an annual budget. We recognize that you're only going to be spending half of it probably, or this year, right? So it calculates to a 12-month annual. That's okay, right? That gives you an opportunity if you had like a whole lot of a windfall the end of this year and wanted to spend more money or whatever, it gives you that approval. But you're making a budget for the rest of this year. And then in September, well, probably here in August, we'll be sending an email to every missionary associated with Global. Everybody that has a ministry account, even those that are here in the United States and have a project account, like I have to submit a budget, we all will go through an annual budgeting process, and that budget is due back on September 15th for 2021. And the point of that is we go through the process of our board approving all of those budgets one at a time, and so that we can get that done in our annual meeting every year. So that is the reason for those 2 types of budgets. And depending on when you come into Global, it can be a little bit confusing about that. Any other questions about budget? And I can pull those up. Go ahead, Fernando.
Sorry, I have one more.
No, it's good.
No, but this I think is. For example, I have some funds coming from Brazil. Okay. And when I submit the budget to you guys, what I think is I will do my whole budget. Let's say $3,000 a month is what I need. But I already have, let's say 500 that comes from Brazil that doesn't come through you guys because comes to my bank account in Brazil, and I get it here in Spain. So do I submit my budget of 3,000 to you and say, just send me 2,500 because 500 comes from Brazil? Or do I adjust my budget to 2,500?
That is an amazing question. And it's one that I've been working on a solution for. And this is the first time, staff, you've heard the solution because I just decided it as he was talking and asking the question. For the official budget that is going to go before our board and for what Marla receives to know what to give you every month, you're going to take that money out. But so essentially I'm going to want 2 budgets from you. One that shows the whole overarching idea of what you're doing. And you can say this is coming from Brazil or this is from wherever, to help us stay on an accountability section. It's just a communication from that. But as far as finance is concerned and all that, it really is what we're responsible for. They need to approve what we're responsible for as an organization and money that's coming through and receiving and that kind of thing. Does that make sense? So if you have multiple streams, then that is a helpful thing. We have had that question in the past and we've always pulled it out. And then there's times where we're nervous. This is the reason. I get nervous because I'm like, they're not getting enough money to live. Mm-hmm. And so from a missionary care standpoint, we're really concerned. And I don't know that there's a retirement income or something else that is coming that is helping subsidize their income. So you just solved my problem.
So do we submit 2 budgets? One will be for what you guys are responsible for, and the another one is so your team knows what's going on with my finances. This way I'm accountable, and at the same time you guys are okay, he gets enough for him. Good. So yeah. When do I do that? Right away when I do the one budget, I do both and they specify which one?
Yeah, if you can. Yeah, totally fine. And it would be fine if you just copy that page in Excel and keep it all in the same book. We can separate it here. That's fine. So the flow is going to be directly back to operations, and then we can send it across so that finance knows this is how much, this is the budget from Global Outreach. Mm-hmm. Yep. Yes, Draghi.
Since we will work, Kremi, Elena, Alex, and I in the same team, and we made like a ministry budget for the team, you know, for all of us as a team. Should we split it on a 4 to be on the worksheet, you know, on the Excel budget worksheet,
Yeah.
or to give it to you as a team budget, you know, like this is our team budget as ministry expenses, which we'll have for 1 year.
Here's the question. Where are we sending the money? To one account or to 4?
We still
Bank
didn't
account.
this 2 in a 2 accounts actually, because we will have we need to set up an organization in Macedonia and in Bulgaria, because if we want to go in Bulgaria to serve, we need to have like a platform to be, you know, to fully employed in Macedonia. So probably in the 2 accounts, depends.
Yeah, I think that what I would like to do is have a conversation with just the 4 of you, and let's talk through all of the ramifications so we can come up with a good plan. We typically don't have people come in as 4 that are coming as 1. We usually have either an organization or an individual. So we don't have I don't have a very good answer in 5 minutes, but we can make that work, basically, pretty easily. We just have to talk it through together to make sure it makes sense. All right. Any other questions? My last slide is just a slide, and again, know that these slides are notes, so you have this already, which is all of the email addresses for the finance team, and that is right here. I didn't put my email address, which is funny. I just write Charlene in Outlook and it just sends to me. Just kidding. That doesn't work. It's cgarrett@globaloutreach.org. I was typing too fast, but we will make sure that you get email if you don't have my email address. But here are the email addresses and questions if you have direct questions for the finance team. I am happy to set up meetings in terms of talking about annual budgets or anything like that, any budget questions, anything finance related, like salary, money. When you're talking about like money stuff, it really isn't me. I'm not in the finance team. I am happy if you communicate with me, I will pass it on. But yeah, Marla can take any questions. And I think that's all we have if we're done, team.
Thank you, Charlene. Go ahead.
Helena, go for it.
Thanks. Just to clarify something, in the videos that John was leading, there was some information about US citizens and specific taxes. So no matter we are part of your organization, this is not concerning us, right?
Right. Because we are we give grants to foreign people. We're granting money. We as a nonprofit don't have to worry about the taxes. It's when we give grants as salaries to US citizens that we have to worry about taxes. All right, so yes. And so I do want to make the point. I know that you guys were with another organization. The big difference is that two differences. One, we don't have any other entity in any other country. So we don't have a European-based global outreach that we are running things through or having employees through, which I am assuming that Crew probably does in some way that they do that. So there's some differences there. And back to we're entrepreneurial. We are setting these things up and we're like, yes, come in and figure it out. Smile. So we're here to help you as you figure it out, just like all of our folks when they start businesses, and we are kind of figuring it out together. So we're happy to help you, but we have very limited, a lot of our answers will be, we're happy, where do we send the money? And this is what we need to know. So awesome. Thank you guys.